Greetings, my spiritual, however you may come, wherever you may be. I titled this Leading the Feast Days, Leading to the Feast Days. Just want to say greetings to all of you all. I know many have gotten home safely as of yesterday. Some are doing today. But just so glad to see that most of you all did reach out and say you got home safely. So that's great. Um, so I titled this Leading to the Feast Days, Leading to the Feast Days. I titled this because our feast days are coming up. Today is April the 1st. And on this coming Sabbath, I believe that's April the 6th. April the 6th is the first day of Abib. The first day of Abib. And there's a lot that happens leading into the first day of Abib. Now, the first day of Abib is not the same as the 1st of April. And April is not the same as Abib. Some of those that are very astute in Hebrew, they say Abib. I pronounce it as it is phonetically written, Abib. And it's dealing with the plant, is what it's dealing with. It's dealing with the wheat. It's dealing with the beginning of the spring harvest. And so that's what Abib is about. Abib, the first month. This is where it's the beginning of the year. He told Israel, this month is the beginning of months to you. So Saturday, our weekly Sabbath, will be the first day of Abib. I'll show you Friday night how we got to that, because we're going to be teaching on the feast days leading into one of the most important feast days as we begin our feast days. You cannot begin the feast days series until you kill the lamb. And because we have to have a passing over that has to take place. How you doing, Brother Charles? How you doing, Miss B? Good morning to you all. So we're going to be talking about leading into the feast days, because that's going to be very important. How you doing, Sister Dia? I hope that you all made it back home safely. So leading into the feast days, Passover is coming up, Passover. So when we lead into the feast days and preparing you, we want to start preparing your mind. So just remember, when you read Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, she says, yes, and it's cold. Wow. Wow. How you doing, Kelly? Wow. Sorry that it's so cold, but after you come out of this nice warm weather like this. So as we lead into the feast days, one of the things we want you to be aware of is that you need to start counting. Starting this weekend, the weekly Sabbath, I think that's on April the 6th. I'm pretty sure. Today is the 1st. Tuesday is the 2nd. Wednesday is the 3rd. Thursday would be the 4th. Friday would be the 5th. And Saturday, Sabbath, would be the 6th, yes. I do know the 6th of April is the first of the Hebrew month of Abib. Starting from that day, you need to count out to 14 days, okay? As you read Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, the children of Israel were told to get a lamb on the 10th day of the first month and keep it until the 14th. And the whole assembly should kill it in the evening time. And they were supposed to take the blood, put it upon the doorpost, and wherever he saw the blood, he would pass over them. When he did not see the blood on the doorpost, the death angel would come in and take the firstborn of that household, both man and beast. So we're going to get into that. We don't kill the lamb anymore because the Messiah is the lamb. We don't have to shed blood anymore because his blood has been already shed. You find that in Hebrews 7th, 8th, 9th chapters, including the 10th chapter. You can just read that whole thing and you'll get a pretty good understanding of that. Your assignment for this week, before we get into Friday night Bible study, is to read Leviticus, the 23rd chapter. You don't have to read the whole chapter, but at least get through Pentecost. It's going to be important to read all the way through Pentecost and the Feast of the First Fruits of Pentecost, because we're going to be covering those Friday night. All of those first three feast days. You got the Memorial of the Lamb, you got the Feast of Unleavened Bread, and the Feast of Weeks. We're going to break it down as to what they mean. A lot of people are asking, how do you observe Passover? And we're going to get into that Friday night. The observing of Passover, briefly, is very simple. We simply take communion in the form of having unleavened bread and having the wine. That's it. We don't have to kill a lamb anymore because he is the lamb. The lamb has already been slain. What we have to do is show tribute and memorial to the lamb. This is why the Messiah says, for as oft as you do this, you do show the Lord's death till he comes. So that's basically how you do it. Don't read the Messianic people where they start to put a hard-boiled egg on a plate. You got to get bitter herbs. You got to get, the plate's got to be set up a certain way. There's no scriptures for that, okay? We just don't do that. We don't have to do that. He told us very simple. The scriptures are very simple. The Messiah and what he taught the disciples is very simple. It's not complicated. He took bread, he rose from supper, and he poured wine in the cup, and he took bread. We know that it was unleavened bread because you cannot make tribute. Whenever you use the lamb, it always has to be according to law with unleavened bread. We're going to show all of that to you this month so you can understand why is it that we only take wine, and why is it that we use unleavened bread to show the memorial of the Lamb. So we're going to be showing that to you, but more importantly, in addition to doing it, you need to know what it means. And what does that mean? What does a feast mean? What does killing, what did the Messiah come to do? And remember, the scripture says he came to fulfill. And fulfill means it's something that was put in place temporary until he came. And then he fulfills that. You know how when you got somebody who fulfills a prophecy or somebody who fulfills an agreement, you know? I remember one time my daughter bought a car, one of my oldest daughters, and I co-signed, and she could not complete those payments. She was going to school and she could not complete it, but I co-signed, and I knew by co-signing the possibility that I would have to absorb those payments. So what I had to do was fulfill that contract. I had to fulfill that contract. So that's what the Messiah did. He fulfilled the contract, because as they say in the book of Hebrews, that the lamb, the sacrificial lamb, the sacrificing of animals, goats, bulls, and bullocks, could never deal with the conscience of the mind. So that's what the Messiah came to do. is to fulfill the consciousness of the mind. So this is why the fulfillment of that Passover is that in this time period, he will put the laws, commandments, and statutes in the hearts of our mind. We don't no longer have to write them, have them written on the table of stone. They exist. We read them, but they're not there where we have to go and say, okay, what does this mean? That mean, that mean. We have to learn it. We got to understand it. But when we do that now, it's in the hearts of our mind. We memorize it. We know it. We take a hold of it. It becomes a part of our culture. Graciously, we do it. Happily, we do it. It's not grievous because it's a part of the heart of our mind. So the Messiah came to fulfill what the sacrificing of animals could not do. And that's why he said in the scriptures, the sacrificing of animals, goats, bulls, or bullocks, thou wouldest not. But a body hast thou prepared me. Then he said, lo, I come in the volume of the book to do thy will. So it's him. He set up that system at the beginning so that he could come and fulfill it. And he did that by shedding his blood on Calvary. He was killed the exact same time and the exact same manner. He met the criteria of that lamb. Of the first year, male, without blemish. And that's who he was. None of his bones of the lamb in Exodus the 12th chapter could be broken. So they didn't break any of his bones. So we show the parallel to that, to number one, show that he is our Passover. And I think many of you all know that, but you need to see the parallels. You need to see how he matched the physical description of the lamb. So leading into this, we need to know why. Why do you kill the lamb before the Feast of Unleavened Bread? Why does the lamb have to be killed and memorialized before that period? Then we're going to get into what does the Feast of Unleavened Bread mean? What is it a similitude toward? What is he trying to show us? What is the storyline? What is the prophecy? Because there's prophecy in the feast days. There's a prophecy of end time letting us know how everything is going to unfold. It's all in the feast days. So if you don't know that and you're just keeping them, then you've really missed the boat, okay? So the Almighty does not want us to just keep them for them to be a ritual. He wants us to understand them. And so we are going to understand them. That's what we're going to learn this month. It's going to require some patience because many of you all may think, well, you know, Pastor Johnson went over that lesson. I didn't go over everything in the lesson. And you can't go over a lesson one time and think that you've learned it. I had to go over this lesson. Each feast day, I put in a minimum of 32 hours of relearning because I've kept the feast days all of my life. I didn't understand the feast days. So what was I doing? I was just basically going through a ritual. I had an idea that they pointed toward Christ, but if you don't understand the completeness of the storyline, because there's a storyline from Passover all the way to the great day of the feast on the very last day of the Feast of Tabernacles. There's a storyline in that. And it's more rich when you understand the storyline and you're keeping them. That's the beauty of the feast days. And you're going to have that knowledge. You're going to get that knowledge. You're going to understand it. And I'm going to make sure that you understand what I understand. How you doing, Ruth? How you doing, Sarah? Ricky, how you doing, my brother? Brother Harold, how you doing? He said, Shalom, Pastor Johnson. That Hebrew conference was amazing. Yes, it was, man. Oh, my gosh. I've gotten so many positive emails. Oh, let me give you all this. I'm gonna give you all the. I want to thank all of you all that have gone to Patreon and have become a Patreon member. Remember, that's patreon.com. You can find me under Pastor Johnson, one word, Pastor Johnson, and you could, if the Almighty puts upon your heart to do, whether it's $5, $10 a month, do it. Help us out to spread this gospel. But as a result of what those that are there that have done that, we got the 800 line for Bible study, and I was going to give it to you all here, but it's I want to be fair to the Patreon members that have made it possible. I want to give them the number. I'm going to shoot it over to them in the email tonight, actually this afternoon or sometimes this morning, and really thank them because they have really have made it possible. And of course, all of you all, I know if you could, you would, and I appreciate that. Maybe you're not in a position to do so now, but in the future, even if you only do, $2 or $3 a month, I think the way Patreon is set up, you go in, you sign up under Pastor Johnson, and you could customize your monthly patron. Whether it's $2, $5, $10, $20, $50, it really helps us pay for the platform. Because we are going to get, this year, we're going to get this word out. This year, my objective is to teach these feast days. I mean, I want you to know them and understand them like you do the computer manual on your phone manual. Some people can go through their phone and do a bunch of stuff. I want to make sure that you all understand these feast days just like that. I want you to know when somebody asks you, well, why do you have to do all of that? I don't understand why we got, especially when you're dealing with family that you just came out of Romish Christianity, and you're telling them now you're keeping the feast days. They're going to look at you like you're crazy. But when you be able to explain to them that it is a plan leading to salvation and what the feast days mean, you are going to feel comfortable. I want everybody to feel comfortable in knowing what they mean, what they stand for, why are they in the sequential order that they're in. That's my goal this year, is when we sit down and teach you all on our platform on Friday night. And this is the reason why we got the 800 number, because I want you to be able to call in. Now, we're going to have to perfect it. I don't know how it's going to work, but we want you to be able to with us live while we're doing Bible study, so we can answer your question, and so that a lot of people, we're live streaming. So that's our goal and our objective with the 1-800 number. And thank you all again for helping us get that. We're just going to do a whole bunch of stuff now, a whole bunch of stuff. So this is going to be great. This is going to be awesome. And again, I want to thank you for supporting the channel, helping us get this gospel out, because that's what's going to be really, really important, that we get this gospel out. I will say this when it comes to the feast days, leading to the feast days, is that I have looked at every messianic book. I've read them all. I've gone to, in Orlando, they got something called the Holy Land Experience. It is an amusement park. It's called the Holy Land Experience. And when you get there, you go into the different places that they have tried to give you an experience if you were to go to Israel. I went there, and they've got books. Back in the day, I bought their books on understanding the feast days from a messianic perspective. Let me just say this to you. They don't, I've read them, they're good. It's a good start. But what we know from the scriptures is not documented in their books. It's not a storyline. Don't explain, why is it 7 days? Why 7? Why does the Passover come first? Why does it say tabernacles is 7 days? The first day is Sabbath, and on the 8th day you should have a feast. They don't explain that, because those things have been revealed to Israel. And when I tell you, once you understand it, all the scriptures are there. This is not something that has been conjectured up. This is not something where I'm telling you, oh, I got a vision and this is what the Most High showed me. No. Everything that I have to show you, there is a scripture or scriptures to support the storyline. Believe you me, I don't play with the scriptures that way. I tell everybody, I am not a prophet. I am not a prophet. Everything that I have is just, it's in the word, and I'm so honored and blessed that the Almighty is opening up my understanding for me to be a teacher to teach Israel. That's it. And that's all I am. I'm just somebody that he's picked to teach. But let me tell you something about teaching. You teach others to be in a position to teach. It's called train the trainer. That's what we do. So we're training you to be able to teach so that you can teach it to others, because Israel is supposed to be a kingdom of priests. That's who we are. We are a kingdom of priests. The entire kingdom of Israel is supposed to be teaching the other nations, and that's what we come to do. That's what the scripture says do. It says Israel is a kingdom of priests. All of Israel is a kingdom of priests. So we're going to be teaching you so you can learn this, so that when you sit down with family members who look at you sideways because you say all of a sudden, number one, you're Israel. Number two, you're going to start keeping the Sabbath and the feast days, and they're going to want to know, do you know what you're doing? Do you know what you're doing? And let me explain something to you. If you cannot explain what you're doing, then people are going to look at you like you're crazy. Seriously. People are really going to look at you like you're crazy if you cannot explain it. Even the Sabbath is a part of the feast days, okay? And if you cannot explain that it's a part of the plan to salvation, they're going to look at you like you're crazy. They really are. So this is why it's important for you to know and to understand. So in these Bible studies this month, you need to be a little patient, and you're going to have to really get this and understand this, okay? So that's something that you're going to have to do. So that's where we are. That's what we're going to be doing. So this Friday, although we do have the 800 number, I'm not for sure if we're going to start the 800 call in. I don't know if we're going to do that exactly or how we're going to do it, but we're going to figure that out. I'm going to get with the team and find out exactly what's the best way to roll this out. So that's coming up. That's what's going to be coming up this weekend. Also, let me say this, how important it is to know, okay? The purpose of being in the first resurrection. This is important. This is why it's important to know the feast days and to understand them and to be able to teach others. And I want you to understand this, because there's a lot of Romish Christian indoctrination that has no biblical proof that we got to break down. So let me just make this a little bit clear and plain to you. A lot of people teach when we die, we're going to heaven. We're just going to roll around heaven all day. We're just going to be, when we get into the kingdom, up in the sky, we're just going to just roll around. That's a boring place if you believe that, okay? That's number one. And we know the scriptures don't support that. You all know I don't teach that, so we're good on that. Let me just tell you what the kingdom is going to be here on earth. We know that. We do lessons on that. We know that the Messiah is going to sit on the seat of David and rule as David, and he's going to be the King of Kings. We understand that. But in order to be in the first resurrection, when you are a part of that first resurrection, blessed and holy is he that hath part in the first resurrection. These are they that have kept the faith. These are they that have kept his commandments and have washed their robes in the blood of the Lamb. Let me explain this to you. If you don't understand the laws, statutes, and the judgments and the feast days, and I'm not talking about when they are, I'm not talking about the dates of them, I'm talking about what they mean. If you don't know that, you're not going to be in the first resurrection, because the people who become spirit, the saints who become spirit in the first resurrection, is going to be teaching the other nations of the earth. It's not learning time. It's for those that already know that is going to be able to be productive in the kingdom. So if you're not going to be productive in the kingdom, and you can't be productive in the kingdom, then there's no need to have you in that first resurrection. Drama Queen, how you doing? We pray and trust that you're back home. How you doing, Thomas Miller? That's Judah's Show. How you doing, Judah's Show? Faith and Hope, how are you? Rodney Frederick, how you doing, my brother? Please hit the like button, says Rodney. And of course, Dia says hello to everybody, and she was cold where she was at. So this is why it's important to know these feast days. You're not just, if you don't know the feast days, if you don't know the commandments, if you don't know how to teach them to other people, because Israel is a kingdom of priests, you're not going to get hired for the job. And some people say, is it like being hired? Yes, absolutely. This is going to be kingdom building, okay? This is going to be a government. You're going to be kings and priests. You're going to be governors and rulers. If you don't know how to rule, how you going to be in the kingdom? We're not going there to teach people how to rule. This is something you got to learn to do here. Everlasting life has to be before going through the grave. You got to do this now. You got to learn this now. You got to understand this now. You got to be able to teach it now. You got to be able to know it. You got to be able to explain it now. If you can't do that, then there's no need in the kingdom. And this is why he says, blessed and holy is he, that these are they that have kept my commandments. Now, you can't keep something that you don't know. So this is why it's important to learn it. So if you're blessed to sit down so humbly and say, I want to learn. I want to deprogram all of the Romish indoctrination that I've gotten, and I want to get this. I want to learn this. I want to be a part of the kingdom. I want to be a part of the government, because there's only going to be one law. There's only going to be one God. There's only going to be one ruler. That's it. It's not going to be like this government here where who's a Democrat, who's a Republican, who's a communism, who's socialism. There's not going to be none of that. It's going to be, there is no negotiating. There's no votes. There's no elections. There's no political parties. There's none of that. There's no running for elections. Either you're in or else you are out. That's the way that works. And I can tell you, in order to get in and to be a part, if you do not understand Leviticus the 23rd chapter, pretty much you are out. We can't get to the kingdom and start training people how to be a ruler. You got to learn how to be a ruler today. How do you become a ruler on earth in captivity? You become a ruler on earth in captivity because you know the laws. You know the laws, you know the oracles, you know the statutes of the Most High God, and you are walking in them. You're walking in them. Even in captivity, you are walking in them. Even though you have a job and you may work for this government, you understand. Daniel was in captivity, but he had favor. He had favor. Nehemiah was in captivity, but he had favor. Joseph was in captivity, but he had favor. And why did these people have favor? Because they were keeping the oracles, the laws, statutes, and judgments of the Most High God. Israel's been in captivity for a long time. And there are many people that have been in captivity, but God protected them. He put a hedge around them, even while they were in captivity. So basically what I'm telling you is, if you want to be a part of this government of God, and you want to be in that kingdom, you got to learn this. And I'm not saying, some people have asked me, even during the conference, I want to know how to keep Passover. More important on how is, why am I keeping Passover? Why? If you understand why, the how will come. Why am I doing this? Why am I coming to service on a weekly basis? Why are we observing the Sabbath? Why is it every 7 days? This is important to know. It's bigger than he rested on the Sabbath from all of his labor, so therefore rest from all of your labor. That Sabbath is pointing toward the kingdom. That's what that Sabbath is doing. It's pointing toward the kingdom. And once you understand that, and this is why it's in Leviticus the 23rd chapter, you're going to understand. A lot of people may not have really paid attention. You got the commandments that says, you got the Sabbath in the commandments. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. In Exodus, the 20th chapter. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days should you labor and do all your work. But the 7th day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work. Thou, thy son, thy daughter, manservant, maidservant, ox, cattle, all of that. That's what we think that we are observing the Sabbath for every week. That is just one. That is just scratching the surface of why we meet every Sabbath. Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, opens up the understanding of why we do it. That's deep. I just gave y'all something deep. I'm telling you, I gave you something deep. So that's what you have to understand. Mrs. Talea says, you said something right there, Pastor. The why is more important than the how. Yes, ma'am. Drama King, Rodney Frederick, I learned so much from our family at the conference. I am so pumped and ready. This is what we want. We want y'all to be pumped and ready, because this month, we're going to be learning a lot. This month, we're going to be learning the why as much as the how. So listen, I want to thank you all for tuning in this morning. I'm going to be back again this morning, this week. I'm pumped up too. I'm pumped up too, Sister Dia. I'm pumped up as well. And so I want to get these feast days out, what they mean. So let me just say, this month, this week, I'm going to be coming a lot, and dropping these little things so you all can come back and look at them later. But we're going to be dropping them because this is This is the time right now. This is the year right now that Israel has to really get it together. We really do. So I just want to say thank you all for tuning in this morning. Don't forget to hit the like button, and those of you that are in Patreon, I'm going to be sending you out something hopefully this morning, and then I'm going to come back and talk to everybody and let you know some more information about the platform. So I just want to say peace, thank you,